Hi guys, it's Stephen Edwards from Chatting Tax Accountant. So today I'm doing a really short video. It's something we call a mindset video. And the mindset I'm sharing today is the identity iceberg. You might be familiar with this concept before, potentially, but I'm going to walk you through it if this is completely new to you. So where this has come about is it's something we do in our core values workshop. It's all to do with your team core values and what you believe in as a business, what you generally believe in, at your heart, how you want to deal with people, how you want to run your business, how you go about your day, how do you hold each other accountable. To give you the football analogy, Barcelona is a football club. Some of you might have no idea of football, but they have a certain way of playing. They have a certain identity, and you should see from the bottom, we've got identity right at the bottom, which I'll walk you through in a minute or so. But Barcelona have an identity with the way they play football, which then leads into actual results in terms of trophies and how they go about playing the game. So it's the same with your business. There's some deep-rooted issues or deep-rooted thinking and beliefs that are below the surface that customers, looking on the top left here, customers, team members, suppliers, they don't necessarily see in your actions. So the whole concept of core values, which is why I'm talking about this today, is that you live into them. So if you look at like Disney, for example, they obviously have strong core values to entertain, to be family orientated. They've had these for decades and decades. If you've ever been lucky enough to be to Disneyland, everyone's smiling, everyone's happy, everyone's sharing the same the same way of doing things. And other organisations, Apple, Google, you might be thinking, well, I'm far smaller or it's just me, but it all starts from your way of thinking. So at the top level, if we were to wipe out everything below, everything in the sea here, at the top level, the tip of the iceberg, the surface, we've got our actions, and that's how we all behave personally and as a business, is what we do day to day. And it's fairly easy to change your actions because you can be inconsistent day to day. You can make small changes. Changing an action's not necessarily difficult. What's more difficult to change, and it's below the surface, is your habit. So, for example, when you get out of bed in the morning, have you got a certain routine? Have you got a habit? Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? It's a bit more difficult to change a habit because, I think you need to change it something like 21 times to actually make a real change. And to really cement a habit, it's said that you need to do it more than 60 times to cement a new habit. So habits are a bit more difficult to change. But where do habits come from in the first place? So say I want to build the habit to go to the gym in the morning, so I want to build the habit to go to the gym in the morning. That comes from my thinking. First, you need to have the mindset. You need to want to change your habit. So as we dive deeper, it's even harder to change these traits. So changing your thinking is even harder than changing a habit, but it can be changed. It's how do you change your thinking? You change it by mixing with different people, by educating yourself, by reading, by joining networking groups, joining new classes, going on a training course. There's lots of different ways out there. Getting a mentor, a coach. There's lots of different ways of changing your thinking, but it is quite difficult. Deeper than that are your beliefs, and that's even more difficult to change. Your beliefs are something you've probably had set in stone in your eyes. Could be decades. Your beliefs could go back to childhood. This is getting even harder to change. But without changing your beliefs, it's not always easy to change your thinking, because you might have the belief, wow, if I do this, if I go to the gym, it's not going to matter because I could get hit from a bus anyway. Or if I read this book, it's not really going to help me because I don't believe that books, they really achieve anything. So this is all about your personal beliefs. And although this is a business context, I am talking about an individual level because you can only reference this to you as an individual. Below that, you've got your personal values. So your personal values are even more deeply rooted. These are the sort of things that if you're having at the dinner table, your family and your child's got into some trouble at school, how do you deal with that issue? What's your personal values? Do you feel they should stand up physically to deal with this issue? Do you feel they should go to the teacher? Should they speak to the person? Values are something really, really deep rooted, and all of these ultimately give us our identity. And your identity is virtually impossible to change. Your identity, it comes from the heart. It's what you really, really believe in. So the whole purpose of this is that, if you're going to be looking at your business, your organization, and you want to make a change in terms of how do you operate day to day, personally, collectively, across the board, how do you deal with your customers, you need to go below the surface. Going back to someone like Apple, they've got a strong identity. I'm sure lots of them have got similar personal values. They've got beliefs, similar way of thinking. I'm sure the habits, how they operate day to day, all results in these actions that provide amazing customer service. So if you're doing your core values workshop for you, or you're looking at core values, if you haven't got any core values, by the way, it's not as wishy-washy as you might think. It can actually change the way you run your business. Core values is how do you deal with certain situations. It's not just some writing you put on a piece of paper you never look at again, or some writing you put on the wall. Core values is how do we deal with customers? How do we deal with each other? What do we do if we get a problem? That's what core values are. They're basically like a personal constitution for your business. How do you get through things? How can you get better? Going back to Disney again, I'm sure you can imagine I'm a big Disney fan because I've mentioned it about 3 times. But I'm watching a documentary on the Disney Channel at the moment. And it's talking about when Walt Disney had this amazing vision. He obviously had a strong identity and all these beliefs. When he died shortly before building the Florida theme park, they kind of lost a bit of their identity because there was no Walt Disney. There was, the leader, the inspiration wasn't there. And his brother took over, I think his name is Ron. And then he actually died around another 2 years later when they finally launched the Florida theme park. And what they were left with was no leader, but they did have their core values. They did have an identity. They had personal values they all believed in. They had the beliefs. They all had habits, the way they work in. And that's what makes it such a great company today. So hopefully you can apply some of this to your business, and you can look at some of these things below the surface that can hopefully have a positive impact on your business and your customers and your suppliers. Thanks, guys.